anything that is of this major development unless the neighborhood council gets involved, and they have to actually sign off together with the building and safety and with the developers and with the planning division. You cannot do something like this without anybody else's consent.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Paul?
Well, there's already a lot of impacts from that mall and the surrounding neighborhood, and I think the way I would deal with that is the same way I would deal with any major development, and that is when a developer comes into my office and asks for the support for that project, the first question I have is, what have you done to reach out to the impacted community? Have you listened to them? Have you identified the adverse impacts that are going to happen to that community? And have you done what you can to mitigate those impacts? And if they haven't done those things, they're not going to get this council member's support. It's as simple as that, whether it's this development or any other. Now, the challenge with this is going to be, how do we reduce the impacts in the surrounding area without extending additional impacts out into other residential areas? If, for example,
thank you, really appreciate it.
The next question concerns the same project for David, Frank, and Tamar. What steps will you take to protect the adjacent residential neighborhood of Westfield Fashion Square? David?
Well, one of my main platforms is that I'm here to represent and reflect the voice of the community, and neighborhood council is an extremely valuable tool. It's going to be my primary tool, so I'll definitely open it up right away to town hall meetings about this, and possibly there's some variances or exemptions or EIRs that were looked the other way. I'm going to have to go through it and see if anything was turned a blind eye when Wendy was involved, and see what we can do, and then also organize the community to let the developers know. I do believe the community probably does not want this eventually, so then how to organize the community to have the message heard, much like the No on Home Depot campaign that was done. I think that's a starting point.
Thank you.
Well, I've said before at other forums that when you elect Frank Sheftel, it's like the guy you see in the phone commercials that has his phone, and behind him is that network of people. That network of people behind me is going to be the Sherman Oaks Homeowners Association, the Sunland Tahonga Association, the neighborhood councils, everybody. You're going to be my eyes and ears, and I'm going to be your voice. And together we're going to work and make sure this happens. And nothing can happen without the community's input. And that's very important, and that's something that's going to happen when I'm elected.
Thank you. Mark?
The neighbors in the Fashion Square neighborhood don't want this issue studied one more time. They have already figured out the protections that their community needs. They've already figured out the right turn lanes and the blocked off streets, and I have already put in writing my pledge to support their petition.
Thank you. Next question is for Pete, Michael, and Chris. What will be your policy for supporting exemptions to the Ventura-Cahuenga Corridor specific plan?
I do not support any exemptions to the Cahuenga-Ventura specific plan. I have been working with our neighborhood council. Every land use issue that comes from our land use committee comes before the board. So I see every question that comes. And we have been struggling to make sure that the specific plan is adhered to. We do not want exceptions made. And I think also at this time, with our infrastructure crumbling, that it would be very wise not to even consider granting exceptions to the zoning until we have an infrastructure that can support what exists already.
Specific plans are near and dear to my heart. The Valley Village Homeowners Association was founded on the basis of a specific plan in the late 80s and the early 90s. As the last 12 years, as president of the Neighborhood Council, as president of the Homeowners Association, I have worked to protect the specific plans, the specific plan of Valley Village, and I have worked not to allow exemptions to our specific plan. I will take that same strategy and commitment to any specific plan that's within the CD2 area.
Thank you, Chris.
Yeah, I would see absolutely no reason to approve projects that were not in accordance with the specific plan for the Ventura Corridor. I do worry a bit that the specific plan, the way it's written, has some loopholes in it, has some unclear language, and what I'd like to work with the community on and with City Hall on is how we tighten those up to ensure that the development along Ventura Boulevard is pursued in a manner that again meets the wants and needs of the community.
The next question is for Joe, Frank, and Paul. Give us a specific example of how you have stood up against popular sentiment, political or job pressure, and fought for the right thing. Joe?
Well, two of the recent ordinances, the ballot measures that I opposed were Proposition R and Proposition B. While the other side put a lot of money in, well, the grassroots, we became active, and although we were not able to stop the Proposition R, the expansion of terms for the politicians, we were able to stop Proposition B. And some of the leaders of Proposition B have endorsed my candidacy as well, one of them being Mr. John Stammery. So I do stand up for the people that I'm hoping to represent. I will fight for your interests, and you can rest assured that...
Thank you very much. We really appreciate it.
Great. How many of you people remember a little thing called the Valley Independence Movement? Remember that? Well, I was one of the candidates at that time that ran, and I fought for Valley's right to have its fair share of services and everything else. And that, I believe, is something that, while still relevant, we're obviously not going to be our own city, but it's still about our fair share and about getting a return on the investment that we put into our community. So I learned a lot back then about the political process. I became friends with some of the political people that were in office at the time. Their jobs were somewhat in jeopardy, but not really. But I believe that that was a fight worth fighting for, a cause worth fighting for, and I believe that this is also a cause worth fighting for.
Well, I can think of two pretty recent examples. One was during, all of the fiasco surrounding the state budget and all the terrible cuts that we had to make. There was tremendous pressure to try to take away some local sources of funding. And most of my caucus and others in the legislature wanted to take away municipal gas tax revenues from cities throughout the state. But the mayor came and talked to us, and others came to talk to us about the impact that it would have on Los Angeles. I told the speaker I couldn't support this, and we put a stop to the gas tax takeaway. That means $60 million more for street repair and other things for Los Angeles because I stood up to what the governor and others wanted to do. Another one I don't think I have time to get into.
Thank you. Actually, you don't.
The next question is for Pete, Augusto, and Chris. A large development project with negative impacts on traffic and parking is located in an adjacent council district, but is opposed by the nearby neighborhood within CD2. The council person within the adjacent district supports the project. What will you do as a council person and as a member of Plum? Pete?
Sorry. What project?
It's a hypothetical.
Well, I think my platform is you have to have responsible development. I don't like granting exceptions to specific plans or to ordinances or making variances for projects. So I think what you have to do is you have to bring the community in, and you have to find a compromise that can be reached that everybody can live with. Property owners do have rights as well. They have to be able to use their property. We have building codes where the way they are right now, so that there is some check and balance. But I definitely would bring in the neighborhood council, the homeowners groups that were in that area, and try and reach a mutual agreement that could be lived with for everyone.
Thank you. Before we do that, I advertisement from our sponsor. Why not? It's going to save someone a lot of money.
Not an advertisement, a request. We have a lot